Hello everyone, myself V.V.Gopala, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Applications, Aditya University. Today, the topic I'm going to put in front of you is electronic mail. Okay, this is actually a very important service. So we are familiar, but after completion of this lesson, so you will be familiar about introduction to electronic mail. Also, you find what are the components that are necessary for electronic mail system, and how the email is going to work, and what are the protocols that are necessary for the email kind of a service, and email message format, how the email should be created. So these are the basic things we are going to understand by this lesson. Let us start with the introduction part. It is actually electronic mail. Electronic mail is an application which allows the users to send and receive messages over the internet. So you want to send a message to someone, then how it is possible? Suppose you are there in the internet, then you should have an application called email application. Then through email application, you can able to send the message, and the other side, the other user to whom the message is actually being addressed can able to get the message. So this is possible by using an application, and in that way, electronic mail, or shortly called as email, is responsible to do the job. So it operates based on the client-server model and relies on some protocols. It's not a direct thing. You can as you are feeling. It's a process behind this particular operation. So here we are expecting this kind of an operation in the client-server architecture, and also it needs some kind of protocols. So we are going to know what protocols are actually responsible to do the operation, and how they give you the information satisfies the users, that we are going to see in the actual following slides. So now we are going to see what are the components that are necessary for constructing an email system. So if you see the figure, there are three major components which are actually identified. One is known as user agent, shortly called as UA, and other component is called as mail server, and the other component is called as SMTP. Okay, so these are the three components which are actually shown in the figure. We'll find out what is the role of each and every component in this particular construction. Okay, user agent is responsible to create the mails. User agent, let us say you are having some kind of message you want to send, where you are going to type it. So you need a Gmail account, or you should have some kind of an Outlook account, or so you should have some kind of an interface in which you are going to, or through which you are able to put your message in the actual internet. So in that case, the Gmail or the Outlook can be referred here as an user agent, in which or by which you can able to compose a mail. Also, the user agent sends the mail to an SMTP. So the SMTP, already I mentioned that simple mail transfer protocol. It is actually going to put the information to travel in the internet, so that user agent sends the mail to SMTP, which is the other step the user agent is going to follow, and SMTP is going to forward the mail to the corresponding recipient, which is actually mentioned in the mail address. So the recipient address should be there. We'll see all these, the actual structure of the message creation, all these things we are going to see in the following slides. But SMTP is going to send the or forward the mail to the recipient based on the address that is mentioned in the message creation. So this is about the sending part. the sending part. Okay. So now after that, the receiving part, if you see, the recipient's mail server, because you are seeing that there is a mail server in the overall scenario, the mail server is going to download the server that is actually been addressed to the client, which is, or the user on the other side of the mail server. Then what actually it is going to do is, it is going to receive the mail by the mail server and stores it, because it has to be delivered to the actual user in the mail server side. So what it has to do, first of all, it has to retrieve, it has to see, it has to receive the mail which is actually been there in the mail server, and it stores it, and later on it is going to send the message to the corresponding the agent or user agent on the other side. So here the mail server is going to cover up the actual users under its purview. So here the recipient is going to finally get the message which is served by the mail server. The user retrieves the mail using some protocols called as POP3 or IMAP. We are going to see what are these protocols, and also the mail is finally displayed in the user agent. So finally, the user agent is going to see the message by interacting the actual user agent by the user. So here, if you see the figure again, you can have some clarity. You start with this user agent. Let us say user agent is going to generate a mail, and that mail server will be transmitted to the local mail server, and it is going to pass the information to the SMTP. Through SMTP, it is going to it is going to go for the mail server on the other side. Let us say the actual mail is, suppose, let us imagine that the mail is addressed to this the user agent on this the side, which is indicated in the arrow mark. Suppose the user agent is available on the side of the mail server, then automatically the SMTP is going to pass the information, pass the mail to the mail server, and from the mail server it will be again reached to the user agent on the other side. Okay, so you see that user agent on one side is creating the message, and user agent on the other side is going to receive the message. So through SMTP is playing a very important role. So here the mail server has to store the mail which is actually reaching to the mail server from various user agents. It has to store all the messages, and later on it is going to serve to the corresponding user agents in its side. So this is the way how the thing is possible. And now if you see this, the sending side and receiving side, then you have to focus on the protocols which are actually meant for email transmission. So for retrieval, there are three protocols are there. One is called SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, which is responsible to identify the respective mail server to which it is going to serve based on the address. So SMTP is a protocol which is doing very important job. Actually, it is going to identify to which mail server it is to be transmitted, should be identified by the SMTP. Then POP3 is another post office protocol, version number 3. It is we are going to see what it is going to do for us. And also the another protocol is there, that is IMAP, Internet Message Access Protocol. It is also playing a very important role in this mail transmission. We are going to see the actual job of POP3 and IMAP, and followed by SMTP. So SMTP, you know that the full form is a Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. The purpose of this particular SMTP is for sending emails between mail servers and from user's device to the mail server. SMTP is not between mail servers. SMTP is also playing a role between the user agent and the mail server, which is local. So that without SMTP, there will not be any communication. So you cannot transmit any information from one side to other side. So SMTP is a very essential protocol, which is actually covering the both users, sending user and receiving users will be covered by the SMTP. Okay, and the other important factor is how it is going to cover this sending and receiving phases. So it is going to follow, the SMTP is going to follow three phases of operations. One is called the handshake. That means the client establishes a connection with the SMTP server. So the client has to establish a connection to the actual the other client which is on the other side, unless connection is established, you cannot expect any kind of transmission between the client and server, because unless the receiver is ready to receive the message, then how or why the sender is going to send the message? Because once the receiver is ready, you can send. There is a meaning of sending a message. Once the receiver is not ready, then there is no meaning of sending the message. Then in that case, the email server that is there is going to store the message, and whenever the receiver is ready, then only it is going to serve the information to the corresponding receiver. And here the handshake is a very important phase where which is going to alert the sending and receiving devices by following certain messages in between them. And message transfer, once the connection is established, then the actual transmission of mail will be taken up by the SMTP by following a mail from address and recipient to addresses are there. The mail from is nothing but the source address, and the RCPT means that means recipient. It is nothing but the to address to whom it is addressed. The mail is addressed is shown in the address format. And also there is one, the data is shown here. Data means actual message. The actual message is also placed in this, the actual scenario. So thereby the message will be finally transferred to the recipient by following the SMTP protocol. And closure, once the transaction is over, once the mail transmission is over, so there is no meaning of continuing the same connection. So it has to close the connection. So that is also the responsibility of the SMTP to close the connection. So these are various operations which can be called as three phases. One is called as handshake, other one is called as a message transfer, and the final thing is called as a closure. Once closing is done, then there is no meaning of there is no way of again sending the message to the actual recipient. Again, you have to go for handshaking process, message transfer process, and closure process then. Okay, then coming to the mail retrieval, it also follows two important protocols. One is called as a POP3 and next is IMAP. So once the mail is reached to the recipient mail server, then it has to use any one of the protocols which are mentioned here. It may use POP3 or it may go for IMAP. What is the basic difference between POP and IMAP can be identified here. Let us start with the POP3. The POP stands for Post Office Protocol, and 3 is nothing but the version number. So the POP responsibility is to download the mails in the local server. It has to download all the mails which are actually being reached to the actual local server. It is going to download all the mails with the help of POP3. That means Post Office Protocol 3. So in this, the POP is going to do two types of actions. One is called it may download, and after that it is going to delete. And one more action is it may download and keep the mail for some time. So these are the two modes of operations generally being observed by POP3. What actually the download and delete operation takes care. In this, the mails are removed from the server after being downloaded to the client. Because the mail is meant for a user, So once the mail is served to the user, respective user, then there is no point of maintaining the mail in the actual server. So it is going to POP3 is going to remove the mail from the mail server, and once it is downloaded to the corresponding the agent. Then download and keep. That means here in this case of download and keep, the POP3 is going to keep a copy of the mail in the mail server, and even after serving the information to the corresponding user, even then it is going to keep the mail as a copy of that. So that is why it is called as a download and keep. Is another mode of operation we are expecting by using POP3. And after that, another important protocol that is called IMAP. IMAP stands for Internet Message Access Protocol. In this, the user can able to have an accessibility. Any user in this allowed user can able to manage the mails directly on the server. That means manage in this means what? They can update the mails which are there, and they can delete the messages which are there, or they can create new messages which they are actually interested. So that is why these three types of things can be referred here as a management of the mails. But in this case of IMAP, the users can be allowed to access, and they are also allowed to manage the mails directly on the server. So that is the main difference between IMAP and POP. POP will not allow the users to do any kind of management, but whereas in this IMAP, the users are allowed to do some kind of management with respect to the mails. And the next thing is how the mail should be constructed. So as shown on the figure, so the mails can have some header. The header should include the from address, that means from where the mail is originating, and to address, that means the recipient's mail address should be there, to whom we are addressing the mail, and subject, that means briefly explain about, or small description about so actually the concept or the actual the mail meant for what reason can be briefly mentioned. That is called the subject. And timestamp is also there, that is called when it is created, the mail is created. And the next is called as the carbon copy, that means to the same mail can be transmitted to different addresses, different clients, so that the same copy can be passed to the other addresses also, that can be shown in the CC. And blind carbon copy, that means in this case of blind carbon copy, so the copy can be created, and which can be without any address, or without any kind of coverage of that. So you can able to find out the message on the other side of the client. The body, the next part of the message is body. So the body is actually contain the actual message, so which can be created in the plain text format or HTML, hypertext markup language. So the first part is called the header part, where all addresses are identified, and the type of communication you require, whether you require any copy or not, that you are able to specify in the header part. Whereas in the body, the actual message what you are interested to communicate to the other side will be placed in this body part. So this is the way how the actual email is going to help the users in the client server model. So one user can able to send the mail to the other user by following the corresponding addresses. So I hope that after this lesson, the student is able to is familiar about the introduction part of electronic mail, and components that are there in the email system, and what is the working policy of email system, and what protocols are there in the email system, and what is the actual role of each and every protocol, what extent of usage of protocol is possible, and finally what is the message format that you can able to follow strictly to successfully conduct the email transmission. Thank you.